Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? This is ZaZaAli. Today is Friday, August the 6th, 2021. I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I am well with my Jimmy Neutron slick back, a little something hairdo. um, I literally woke up this morning and I wanted to do it yesterday, but had too much to do. But I got up this morning and said I need to sit down and kind of say the things that I didn't say, respond to some of the messages that I have received. Anytime I do a video, specifically after I haven't done a video in a long time, I always, kind of reel after the fact over the things that I didn't say, more so than the things that I did say. And as I have told, some of the people that have tagged me in the video clips, I don't even remember half of what I said in that video. And it comes to me as I, talk to my people or I see the clips online. But I had a lot of stuff I wanted to say, and I didn't say everything. One important thing that I didn't say, there was actually several important things that I didn't say. But the topic of the matrix came to me while I was in a conversation talking about the harnessing of human energy. So anyway, I'm going to do several follow-up videos to that video, just to kind of, you know, uh, um, make the full point of what I wanted to say, so to speak, to put some, divine feminine energy out into the universe. Hopefully, my thought inspires thought and it carries and has ripples, throughout the ethers. And it will add to or shift the collective consciousness, the shift in collective consciousness, I should say. I want to thank everybody that took time and sat down and listened to me, in full-fledged war mode, for almost 3 hours. I know it's not easy, especially in this day and time where people are used to sitting down and, a 1 minute clip is the main, you know what I mean? The main kind of consensus, and then 10 minutes is max. And then once you get past 30 minutes, it's very hard to keep people's attention and keep them engaged. So the fact that you guys sat down and built with me for, close to 3 hours, I'll never take that for granted, and I will always be appreciative. Also, those of you who have purchased the Keys to Womanhood workbook, all of my work, obviously, but Keys to Womanhood specifically, because it's my latest workbook. I had some issues with the link that I sent out. So if you had any issues, just shoot me an email, and I'll just send the book straight to you, and we'll deal with the logistics of, I got to fix, there's something wrong with my website with the link that I put up. As far as the coupon code that I sent out to everyone that had originally purchased the book. So the ebook purchase should be fine now. But the link for you guys that I sent the book to for free, I had some issues with that from when I previously uploaded it. So shoot me an email and we'll get it squared away, and we'll get it squared away quickly. And there's actually a couple of things I want to talk about from the workbook today, but I'll get into that in just a second. What else do I want to say before I get started? I am going to be doing a free Keys to Womanhood workshop. It's going to be a live Q&A. I haven't announced the date yet, but it'll be sometime within this next 2 to 3 weeks. I just want to get the physical book in hand and then get the physical book shipped out to you guys. And then we can kind of go from there. But if you have purchased either the ebook version or the physical copy, you will have access to that workshop. So check your email and also check my social media posts. What else? If you're interested in the LA event, shoot me either a DM, contact me on social media so I can save your email address. Because what I want to do is send out a registration, kind of questionnaire, so to speak, checklist, if you will, for those of you guys that are interested. And it's going to be a private event. There's not going to be like a flyer on my social media page. It's going to be a very small number of people that reach out to me that I can verify are actual people, because I'm very careful and very cautious about the people that are who's in my cipher at this point, and the people that I build with and that I establish, connections and relationships. Very cautious now. And all of my speaking engagements from here on out will probably be of my own making, unless I am connected and attached to people that are in alignment and on the same frequency as me. So if you're interested, I have gotten the emails as well as the messages, and I got all you guys kind of earmarked. Just shoot me an email or a message, and we'll get that process started. So I wanted to do this conversation because obviously, like I said before, there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to say that I didn't say. Um, I have gotten a lot of responses from gentlemen, I'll say, that took issue with the pitch and the fervor and the vibration of my message, the language that I use, cursing and whatnot, and have been actively, making it known to me that they felt some type of way about it, whether it was on the actual YouTube video. There's another video that I put up inadvertently that had 3,000 views. So there's two copies of the Matrix 2021. The second one I ended up deleting once I realized that the live had already been verified. But that video had 3,000 views and a lot of comments. So there was commentary there. There was commentary on the live that you guys have access to now. There was there have been emails, DMs, right? There's a lot of different ways that people communicate with me. And of course I have to, you know what I'm saying, navigate and filter through all of those messages and all of that energy to place it, and also to find, like needle in a haystack, the consciousness and the energy and awareness that is in alignment with where I am striving to go. So it's a lot. People think it's just you sit down and you have a conversation online, and for most people that might be what it is. I take this platform and my videos a little bit. I apply myself to them in a different type of way. It's why I don't do a lot of content, and it's also why sometimes if I don't do a lot of content, I have a lot to say. I have personal goals and standards for the way that I put my messages out. By the way, you guys, I have this thing with lines and things being orderly, right? It's a little OCD, but my bookcase in back of me, the one on my left is broken. I have to get it replaced. So this space right here that you see, it throws me off. So the other bookcase is brand new. I had to buy another one. This is broken, so I have to buy a new one to replace that one. So that little space right there is just, and there's books underneath it, and there's books, but that little space right there is, anyway. So that has nothing to do with anything that I wanted to talk about today. It's just, me observing my myself and my space. But this is something that I really need to say and underscore, because I used to go back and forth with people. I used to try to get understanding with people. I used to, allow people to express their grievances, and I still do. But the line or the rope that's available for that at this point in time is very short. Obviously, I don't mind you disagreeing with me. I don't mind you questioning me. But my platforms are not a democracy. This is not a democracy. You didn't vote me in and you can't vote me out. You know what I'm saying? Like, cancel culture doesn't apply to me, number one. And number two, I've been doing this for 10 years now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not no young teeny bopper that's still trying to find her way through social media likes and fanfare. Oh my God, only 10 people like my picture versus yes, turn up 4,000 people. No, that's not my frame of reference or my state of consciousness at all. So my pages, my YouTube channel, my Facebook, my Instagram, this is not a democracy. So while you can express your opinion, and if I say or do something that makes you feel some type of way, that's all good. But please understand, you're in my house. When you watch my content, when you come to my pages, you are in my house. and you have to take off your shoes before you come in my house. That's law. So we have, that's my physical house, but the proverbial house, so to speak, when it comes to engaging me, when it comes to talking to me, when it comes to listening to me and having access to me. And you can ask people that don't have access to me anymore what it feels like to be on the outside looking in. But some of y'all are, when you come to me and it's like, oh, Za, you could express this in a different type of way. Your energy is hard to accept. And I say, well, I understand your point, but I said what I mean and I mean what I say. Thank you so much for paying attention. And then you come back and you double down on what you think about what I do and how I do it, instead of addressing the 50 things that I talked about in the message, i.e., weather manipulation, you know what I'm saying? Stuff that I don't even really want to say because I'm trying to maintain the language that I use, right? Because I'm navigating algorithms now, not just trolls and ignorance. Now I got to think about a whole nother space of consciousness that does not operate and act like human beings does. Tries to, but it doesn't, right? So I name off all these things, and the only thing you want to come back and double down on is my presentation. Well, I am who I am. If I say do a video and I don't say one curse word, which there's plenty of content of that on my channels, and if I say 1,000 curse words, this is my house. I say and speak how I want to speak. And if you don't like it, stop watching my content. Tune out. Stop trying to tell me how to be who I am, or tell me what works and what doesn't work. Build your own platform. Use your own mouth. You know what I'm saying? This is not a democracy. With that being said, maybe if, and this is specifically to men, it's not only to men, but specifically because this is who I seem to have gotten the most kind of kickback from. Maybe if you were a little bit louder, I wouldn't have to be so loud. Which was the whole point of what I was saying in the video in the first place, when I started asking, where are our men? Our men are exposing, some of them, what's happening. Okay, great. But there's like 50,000 people exposing what's happening now. That's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're in a space of wisdom now. We're beyond this, just knowledge. We have had technology for 30, 40 years. The people who want the information are seeking knowledge, and the information comes to them. The majority of people are deaf, dumb, and blind, and will not resonate with this state of consciousness or information, no matter what you say, right? So I just, I again, the message that I was trying to convey is, hey, we're playing preschool games in a world where university technology is being expressed. So to the gentleman, and I know you're watching because that's how it always happens. I have no idea how people watch you that don't like you. That just is baffling to me. I don't watch or follow anybody that I don't like. I don't watch or follow anybody that I'm always looking to punch holes in their information or in their story, right? But I know the people who took issue with the way that I expressed myself, the language that I used, are still here because that's how truth works. So I'm going to tell you, you can save your typing time and your energy in my comments trying to tell me how to talk and express myself. And you can use that energy and go and do it your way. I also find, and this is fascinating to me, right? I said I put Black men on the map, right? Not all Black men, but some Black men. The ones who took it personal or thought that I was being disrespectful are probably the ones that I was talking to. That's accurate. But I told you guys I have access to kings and you know what I'm saying? People that check and double check my, you know what I mean? That I am able to be corrected and led in the right path, so to speak, if that's the case. Looks like I got their nod of approval. But talking specifically to men and to Black men, I noticed that every time that I have a specific message for men, a lot of you brothers go into teacher mode. teachers looking for students. So my emails, I have gotten at least 15, maybe 15 to 20 messages, right? Multiple messages from multiple people, regular random inboxes and whatnot. Where now, because I have challenged the masculine energy and I have challenged our men to step up and to speak to this moment in time, now instead of you doing that, you want to become my professor. So now you're emailing me and inboxing me and sending me things that you probably should have been sending me 6 months ago, but okay, let's play. And trying to put me in this position, projecting, wanting to school, wanting to keep me in my place, so to speak. And I'm not saying that's what all of you guys are doing, but this isn't my first rodeo. I get this all the time. It's fascinating, actually. How about you stop trying to teach me and you go and teach the women in your family? How about you stop trying to teach me and you use your platforms to teach the people that need to be taught? I'm not a teacher looking for a student. I am a student of the world. So all those messages and all that information that you want to show me that you are a king, that you are a scholar, that you do have knowledge, you know what I'm saying, wisdom and understanding, I don't need you to prove it to me. I need you to give it to the world. Deal? Okay, cool. Women, I want to talk to us specifically. This is not, I'm talking to everybody, but we're gonna have a lesson in spiritual kung fu today, right? Let me share my screen real quick because I want to show you guys. Let's see. No, not that one. Okay, share my desktop. Okay, so where is it? Here it is. All right, so let's talk about spiritual kung fu. Excuse me. I've been talking a lot these past few days. On the day when I did the video, the live, I exuded so much energy. It literally took me 24 hours to recover from that. So while you guys were, you know, kind of complaining about the energy that I expressed, what you should have been doing was thanking me. So in the Keys to Womanhood workbook, this is page 134. Well, this is not page 134. This is page 123. So I kind of give this breakdown in you know, making the correlation between the 5 elements of nature and how that is you know, the metaphysics of how that's tied to the human being, the human body, the emotional system, and the spiritual connection to that, right? So this is what I need for women and young women and all the female warriors that are among us to understand. These 5 elements of nature, wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, these are all elements of nature that we have access to, right? So I think a lot of times because we have this idea of what feminine energy is and what womanhood is and what, you know, divine feminine consciousness and, you know, goddess, queen, all of that stuff, you know, but it's time now, because when I talked about before being in the quantum realm and creating time, right? I, as a woman and as you know, a divine feminine consciousness and awareness, am staking my claim and am taking responsibility into redefining and rerouting what we think is the role and responsibility of women. I don't have no problem being barefoot in the kitchen. I don't have a problem making vegan pancakes, or you know what I'm saying, or making sure the herbs is fully stocked in the kitchen, and you know what I mean, making sure we're buying non-genetically modified you know, food, and you know, house is kept clean and all of that. Those things, that stuff's easy to me. My issue comes in when I'm ready to crack atoms and you want to talk about navy bean soup. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I am a scientist through and through. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need you to school me about cooking navy bean soup. I can look up a recipe online, or I could, you know, call 50 sisters that I know that can teach me how to make navy bean soup. I can learn a recipe, you know what I'm saying, purely by experimentation alone. That is not difficult. I want women to understand this, because we've been pigeonholed and marginalized into this space where we're stepping back and waiting for men to kind of take control, which is part of the reason that we're in this situation that we're in right now. You can argue the semantics however you want to, but we are living in a world that is controlled by men. So when I tell Black men, hey, these dudes got arms blazed, like they got nuclear weapons fired off at the world, like what are we doing, what are we, you know what I'm saying, like, and then you come back and your only feedback or your only thing that you have to focus on is me and how I expressed it. Those are not the kings that I'm talking to. Those are not the potential kings that I'm talking to. I got so much feedback from so many men all over the world. I know and understand that we have plenty of men that are active and that are seeking and that are doing. You understand what I'm saying? But the level of the war that's being, infringed upon the world, and then you put it on the scales of Ma'at, right? The scales of justice. Okay, what are they doing versus what are we doing? The scales are tipping heavily in the wrong direction. So, women, you have access at any given moment, at any time, to the wood element. Excuse me. You have access to the fire element. You have access to the earth element. You have access to the metal element, and you have access to the water element. The last video was fire. I think that goes without saying. And as a queen, and as a goddess, and as a woman that speaks with authority, not over anyone else but herself, I have the right, because I have access, because it is my divine birthright, to access fire when the conditions and the circumstances are necessary. There has never been another history, another moment in time in the history of the world where the access to and the usage of the element of fire has been more necessary or relative than right now. So for the women that are listening to me, a lot of us are using fire, but we're misusing it, right? So we've weaponized sexuality now. You think that, shaking your behind in front of a camera and making men go goo goo gaga over your body, you think that that actually gives you a false sense of power. We think that women online, not online, let's take it off the internet. This growing up in war zones, right? And I grew up in a war zone. A lot of us grew up in war zones, and some of it was in the hood, and some of y'all grew up in war zones in your household. And quiet as kept, that's a real conversation that needs to be had. We're raising and rearing one another in families that are not in alignment with truth and in alignment with God. And we have produced cultures and societies and civilizations that reflect that. Human beings should be very disappointed in ourselves as a collective right now, looking at the type of human beings that we have produced. A brother came on the post. He gave me the language that I was looking for, and thank you very much, because I will be using this from here on out. I forget his name, but he said non-playable characters. I was talking about all the people who are kind of standing in the background that look like seat fillers, right? But they aren't really involved. They aren't active. They don't know what's going on. They have no idea what time it is. These non-playable characters, right? So these are people that are just in the background, going, and I'm still on topic, talking about fire as it relates to women, right? So in our communities and in our culture every day, we see women that have developed this perverted sense of masculine energy or yang energy or fire energy. And now, we walk around with this chip on our shoulder and this anger and this frustration on our shoulders, and rightfully so. And so we are emitting this frequency, and it is affecting our households, it's affecting our children, it's affecting our business and the nature of how we operate in this world. But we don't understand that it's a perverted sense, a perverted reflection of the fire energy, the elemental energy, the divine, the divine rage, for lack of a better word. Rage is not the word I want to use. Let me find something better. The emphasis, the motivation, there's one word that I can't pull. It's on the tip of my tongue. The ability to move in the world and cast fire in the places that need to have fire cast, opposed to just being a dragon and blowing flames everywhere we move in. And it, you know what I mean? That's how most women that are utilizing this energy are expressing it, opposed to expressing it in a healthy way, right? So what my goal is with this conversation and with this workbook and with how I live, because I at one point I wanted to quell my fire. You know what I'm saying? I got tired of fighting. I've been fighting my whole life. I got tired of people, you know what I mean? Like, I just like, bruh, I just want to go sit in a mountainside somewhere and do yoga for the rest of my life and not have to deal with these human beings. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like that. I feel like that at times now. And I'll probably, for all intents and purposes, end up doing that sometime soon. But we're going to, this spiritual kung fu today is going to be about water. And like Bruce Lee said, and any, you know, martial artist that has a spiritual understanding of how the arts are supposed to be expressed, you know that, you know, at times you can use fire and at times you can use water, you know, close combat. At times, you know, you start adding metal, air, right? Wood, the alchemist, right? Using these different aspects of nature and what, you know, everything around us, everything that everything is built upon, right? This whole room, every book, every, you know, I have 2 monitors, I have a notebook, I have multiple notebooks, I have pens, right? I have a printer, I have all of these things around me are all, they all come from the earth. They all come from the dirt, right? So learning how to tap into that state of consciousness and awareness, spiritual kung fu. So now I'm going to say the same things that I said in the first video with fire, and rightfully so, because it was a moment that required and will continue to require fire. I'm going to say the same thing that I said with fire, with water. Also known as the 5 transformations of energy. Each of the elements represents a different phase of energy, and the 5 element cycles show how these phases transform from one to another. Wood represents springtime and uprising in energy, such as plants pushing through the soil. Fire represents summer and ascending energy, such as flames reaching to the heavens. Earth represents earthly fall and stabilizing, grounding energy. Metal represents late fall and contracting energy, such as when trees lose their excuse me, leaves to conserve. And water represents winter and descending energy, such as falling rain or water seeking its own level. Let me bring myself back up here. So remember, ladies, this is spiritual kung fu. There are some battles in relationships. Let's take relationships. Well, relationships, not just the man you're with, but relationships, friends, family, coworkers, right? Relationships, business, work, education, you know, the social ramifications of this world, all different areas of life. There's a time and place to project and express fire. And then there's a time and a place to express water, air, earth, et cetera, et cetera. See, we keep looking at the world as if it's out there. We keep looking at nature as if it's out there. It's us. We are nature. We are part of nature. My body, the makeup, the compounds, the elements, it's all relative, right? So it's not nature out there, it's nature in here, right? So I expressed fire like a dragon breathing, right? Just ready to just destroy all that. I told you I will scorch this earth behind my son, right? That's love. Love being the momentum behind the fire. So how you could misinterpret that or miss that point while war is looming and death is looming and scarcity is looming and fear is looming and chaos is looming and suffering is looming and pain is looming and people being alone, desperate, depressed, frustrated, seeing no way out. All of these things are looming. That was a moment to express fire. I'm not trying to cool anything down. I'm not trying to make anybody feel comfortable. I'm not trying to be light, right? That is a moment to express fire. This is a moment to express water. So let's see how that, let's work that out. So to the men or the males who took issue with how I expressed myself in the original video, let's do this a different way. You can be a good man. That doesn't make you a king. You can be a king. That doesn't make you a god, right? God being self-ruled, king being ruler of a kingdom, which means that there is a whole, you know what I mean, world that revolves around you. You have minds to take care of. You have spiritual, you know, spirit, souls to take care of. You have emotions to take care of. You have, you know what I mean, bellies to take care of. And you know what I mean? Like world revolves around you. And the way that the people interact and move and navigate are based on the decisions that you make. That is a king. And you can also be a good man, which is 100% needed and necessary. But the kings don't play the same role as the good man, and the good man does not play the same role as the God. And God is such a, you know, and I know we all have different frames of reference here, so I don't need to, again, going back to the original video, I don't need a lesson in the etymology of the word God. I'm talking about higher states of consciousness. You can process that based on your Buddhist philosophy, based on your Muslim philosophy, based on your Christian philosophy, whatever, right? But again, I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to a lot of different mindsets, a lot of different states of consciousness, and everybody is just as important as the other. Your book does not make you important than anybody else in this club and in this conversation. Please understand. And I had to tell a brother that on Facebook, who is a Hebrew Israelite, who came and proceeded to give me the quotations of the Bible, which I have 3 Bibles, so I know, you know what I mean? I have the information here readily available to me. But this idea that it's going to be done by men and men only. No, it's like, look where we are. That's not even mathematically and scientifically, that does not even make sense when men only got us in this situation that we're in right now. And if your rebuttal to that is, well, my baby mama married a thug and now her life is ruined, then you don't think like a king. I don't really have, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing for me and you to talk about at this point, right? So there's this quote from this book, Womb Wisdom. And it's a section that talks about balancing the masculine and feminine aspects of self. Remember, ladies, we're talking about spiritual kung fu and how to, I'm addressing males in particular in response to, you know, some backlash that I got or some conversations that I've had since the last video. But this is a prerequisite and a test and an initiation, if you will, towards the higher states of consciousness and within yourself. It says, when a woman is in the first level of the spiral of healing the womb, she may become confused between the masculine and feminine aspects of self. This can result in a general lack of grounding and alignment on all levels of self, lowered life force, and a loss of earth connection. When the womb is ungrounded, and remember, I paraphrase this in the Keys to Womanhood workbook, you know, the woman has 2 wombs. So what this particular book, while it's using a different way of kind of spelling this out, you know, as women, we give birth, obviously, physically through our physical wombs, but especially in this day and time right now, we have to shift and be mindful and be aware of this mental womb, because this womb is active and has power regardless to whether or not you have a man in your life. regardless to whether or not you have children, regardless to whether or not, you know what I mean, like your financial situation or where you are in terms of the pyramid of power, so to speak. This womb right here is completely yours to shape and mold. You understand what I'm saying? And like I always say, a woman that refuses to learn from a woman is a fool. A woman with nothing to teach him. A man that refuses to learn from a woman is a fool. A woman with nothing to teach him, even more so. There's no excuse now, not to me, none. Um, when the womb is grounded, we can be scattered, inefficient, moody, and exhausted. It can seem like we never have enough time to get what we want done, and the things we want always seem out of reach. We can be reactive, unable to step back from people, events, and relationship experiences to allow appropriate action. We feel that life is too fast, that it is passing by too quickly, and we cannot quite catch up to it. Let me pause for a second. This is not a video for women. So I don't want my brothers to check out because I'm having a conversation with men, because with women, because these are the conversations that you need to listen to and be a part of, so we can start raising our daughters to be queens and to be righteous, powerful scientists, mathematicians, homemakers, whatever it is that we aspire to be, opposed to this genetically modified, socially engineered concept of what we have as far as womanhood is today. A woman's sense of confusion about the masculine and feminine aspects of self, however, may also lead to an increased masculine drive based on fear, the need to prove oneself, and the adoption of values needed to survive in a man's world. All excess masculine behavior is based on fear or pain, wounds that need to be seen and felt. Disconnection to the true divine feminine disconnection to the true feminine manifests with tightness at the heart womb, blocking the giving and receiving of love. Living life in an emotional state, repressing, fearing, true feeling makes us ignorant of life's larger cycles. The fear of working with the essential wisdom of polarities and the disavowalment of the dark or shadow aspects leads to disempowerment. Power is found in the darkness once you are brave enough to consistently venture into and reclaim your power. Now, so I'm measuring myself, right? Always based on these masculine, and there's a section in the workbook as well that talks about masculine and feminine energy, yin and yang, etc. But I'm looking at this. Was my message based on fear? Was my message based on a need to prove myself? Was my message based on adoption of values needed to survive in a man's world? Was it excess masculine behavior based on fear or pain or wounds? No, it was based on love. Again, going back to the 5 elements, one of the positive emotions that come from the fire element is love, right? So my love for my son, my love for the people that follow my content, my love for God, which is above anything in all things, right, is the precipice or the motivating factor that comes behind if I come with a message of fire and yielding a sword, opposed to today, I'm sitting here, right? And I am still have that same concern and frustration and, you know what I mean? Real seriousness and focus in this moment in time right now, right? But this is spiritual kung fu, so now I'm battling it with water opposed to fire. But there is no greater or lesser than when it comes to the elements. We use what is most appropriate in the moment. Ladies, we are going to need fire moving forward. We are going to need water moving forward. You understand what I'm saying? The technology that is being used in the sky, in the shots, all of these different weapons and the toys that they've created, they're really at war with God, so they think they are. They all come from these elements, these natural resources. So metal, all this time when I wrote the scientific intervention in our affairs, and I've been trying to get people to look and pay attention to what was going on, I knew that metal was one of the main conditions and elements that were going to be used for this war. So what have I been saying for the past at least 5 years, more than 5 years, because I talked about it in my book. What have I been talking about? Fasting, bentonite clay detox, which purges metal from the system. When I talked about mercury fillings in my book and the fact that the mercury is seeping into your bloodstream, regardless to if the filling is open or not, because at room temperature, that's what this particular metal does, right? If we had been paying attention, perhaps we would have been on the offensive when it comes to using our elemental power and the resource of metal. We would have been offensive and been in a much better position now, opposed to being defensive and trying to throwing eggs at a wall and see what sticks. In the land of the blind, the man with one eye is the king. And I don't look at these people in power as all knowing. They're cowards. You know what I'm saying? Like they're scared, they're cowards, and they have gone out of their way to keep light from coming to the surface so that all of us can be and become what we have the divine right to be and to be and to become, right? Like I wrote a post on my Instagram and Facebook today, like, bruh, I came here innocent, pure, a soul, you know what I mean? Like I why do I have to come here and be under the threat of inoculation? Why do I have to consider emergency preparedness and, you know what I'm saying? Like make preparations for worst case scenarios. Like this is beneath me. I know this is, I just came here with a mission. All of this is foreign to me. Like my soul, my spirit does not resonate or understand any of this shit. That's my first curse and maybe my last curse word for the video. You know what I'm saying? Like to wake up every day and to want to become your highest and best self and then have this gray cloud looming in the background like, don't really know what this planet's going to look like 2 years from now. There's a 2025 marking post and then there's a 2030 marking post. I'm not going to get too deep into that because I wanted to stay in metaphysics with this particular conversation. I might end up doing another video where I kind of really get into all of the science and the technology. But because I was taking in so much information and I take in and process so much information, I got to a point where it was like, we don't need any more knowledge. We need wisdom. Men, we don't need any more knowledge. I mean, you can never have too much knowledge. Let me strike that from the record. But where's the wisdom? Where's the wisdom? So to the people who took issue with, the brothers who took issue with my fire and my passion, you tell me. I'm talking to you calmly and softly now. This is what you wanted, right? Okay, so now that we have gotten past the barrier of language and, you felt some type of way because you felt like I was being disrespectful. Okay, well, we're fighting with water now. What's the plan? What's the goal? What do we think their end game is? You think they did all this for nothing? Do we really think that we're going back to a world pre-2020? Does anybody that's watching this, you know what I mean? Like what? There's another lockdown around the corner. Yes, they are absolutely going to do it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're coming to your house. Okay, so they're going to come and I'm going to be at my house alone as a woman. There's no role, there's no job, there's no agenda for men to make sure that and I'm only specifying me because, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people know who I am, right? I have some form of equity in one way or another, right? Whatever that means, because we know in the bigger scheme of things, it's not worth much when it really counts. But let's just say me. You won't cover down on me. I know there's no plan for the women that are in our community. So LA's up the street, Oakland's up the street, Sacramento's up the street, Vegas is up the street. What's the plan? Are we just sitting back and announcing that it's going to happen and there's no full, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I've been talking about this for a long time now, right? And it makes so much more sense right now. In the Kabbalion, in the chapter that covers causation, right? Every cause has an effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. People will tell you that the Greeks wrote this book, that the three initiates are supposedly the people that there's been different interpretations or not, but they pretty much credit the Greeks, right, with this, but it was really Tahuti, who was an African scribe and a scientist and a scholar in his own right, that is responsible for the original teachings of the Kabbalion. As with most indigenous sciences, they took what was ours and rebranded it and made it their own. So I heard Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, who I was watching a lot until she made this statement, and I haven't really listened to her anymore. And this is why, Europeans, there is a specific, there's something specific that you need to be tapped into and paying attention to when it comes to karmic history and karmic debt, so to speak. And I really wanted to talk about that in the first video, but again, I got completely sidetracked. So when we talk about New Age, this New Age spiritual stuff, all this vibration, this frequency, this energy, law of attraction, none of that is, it's all New Age, right? No, it's actually the founding principles and the spiritual laws that govern the universe that also govern us, right? So the idea or the concept of vibration and frequency being New Age, no, this is the science from which the planet was built. This is the science from which the solar system, navigates and does what it's supposed to do on a day-to-day basis, frequency and vibration, right? And then the side note to that, Miss Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, who I have an avid amount of respect for, especially in terms of her research. But my people were brought to America in slips, Freudian slip, in ships that bear the name Jesus. You understand what I'm saying? So when you say, if I don't submit to your God, your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, when you make your concept of religion or law or whatever you want to call it as the status quo that's going to determine whether or not I make it through this this terrorism that we are currently living under, you are more in alignment and like your predecessors and your ancestors than you actually realize. This is why, Europeans can give us information and have access to a lot of the resources and technology that we do not have access to, but they are not qualified to lead us out of this, because they're a big part of the reason why we got in this situation in the first place. Those slave ships that went all around the world, that granted you favor, that gave you power in this system, whether it's just you being, the head of the PTA that's calling all the shots and nobody can say anything because, you're a white woman and what you say goes. And so you wield that power, or whether you're in a human resources capacity and you're deciding who gets hired and who gets fired, or you're in a laboratory and you're seeing where, you know what I'm saying? Needles are being sent, right? And you make the determination that it's more important for those needles to go to Africa where people barely can eat, let alone live well. You understand what I'm saying? So I need, for Europeans to understand that it has been your callousness and your carelessness as you have sat back and watched the powers that be, which are your people, not mine. There's nobody in Africa sitting at the top, from Africa sitting at the top of the pyramid. I know this is a fact. There's no shaman that double crossed his people from South America that was given a pot of gold and now he's sitting at the top of the pyramid making decisions about which lands are going to survive and which are not. No, let's be clear. These are your people that are doing this to our planet, that are trying to do this to the original people of the planet, and that have also made your life a complete hell at this point. That's not to blame everything on them. And I keep seeing people, I keep seeing people saying this is just about Black people, that they're targeting us. No, look at the numbers. This is beyond race, people. Like, please, look at the statistics of the people that have taken it versus the people who have not. Over 4 billion people on the planet so far. This is not just about taking us out. This is a very different calculated type of game. When you say that, it automatically like makes me, okay, you're not really aware of what's really, really, really going on this planet. Now, of course, the agenda for us is going to be greater. We're the majority of people on the planet. That's the thing that they forgot to tell you when they call you, when you refer to yourself as a minority. No, I'm not a minority. My people outrank you 13-1. Last I checked. It's probably way more than that now. Anybody trying to expose, or not expose, make it seem like their way is the right way, whether you in the conscious community, if you're not listening to me, you don't know nothing. Shut up. You know, we got, like I talked about in the last videos, the arrogance is just absolutely astounding to me. Bragging in the middle of a pandemic. How does that work? People are dying. Everything that we could put, the worst case scenario of what could possibly be heading towards us is absolutely heading towards us. And y'all are online bragging and stroking yourself and having pissing contests to see who can pee the farthest. This is why I say this, it cannot be men only leading us forward. And if you have an organization or a religion or a speaking conference, or you don't have any women sitting at the table. And when I say women, I'm not just talking about she showed up and she looks the part, or she shows you a little cleavage to make you feel good about yourself. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about women that can speak truth to power. I'm talking about women that can espouse flames and water and metal and fire and air. We are not creating queens. That's why a lot of y'all don't know how to deal with a queen. You don't know how to talk to a queen. You don't know how to approach a queen. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the level of conversation, of communication, of awareness on this planet is just absolutely deplorable. So did I make my point about white people? I mean, I could, there's now it's like, oh, it's all of us. I heard David, the guy from Europe, he said in one of his, you know, I'm careful about the words I use, names I use, etc. He said, I don't even remember if I said this in the first video because I don't remember half of what I said, but he said, in regards to critical race theory, oh, if their critical race theory is passed. And now remember, this guy is somebody I admire and respect, right? As far as disseminating the information we need in this day and time. Oh yeah, you know, critical race theory is going to teach white people how to hate themselves. Well, what do you think your school systems have been teaching my people since its inception? You said that and didn't even make the correlation. So I always say, like, white people, that your biggest flaw or weakness is that you can't see the way that the rest of the world sees you. The way your behavior has impacted the rest of the world, this world that we're living in, and how your lack of input and interest in what has been happening to the original people of the planet since you came into power And you just sitting back and saying, well, it's not them, it's us, it's not us, it's them, right? So now there's a price to pay for that. Because you built a world for yourself. You built comfort for yourself. Now you're upset about the potential of having to let that go, but you never said or did anything when the rest of us had to let it go. You actually believe that you're better. This is why you, as a doctor, in a time of mass chaos and suffering and fear, can actually say with a straight face to me, the original woman of this planet, that if I don't submit to your God, that I'm not going to make it through this. Well, you done lost your damn mind. That's not how this works. And pivoting from it being a European thing to it being a cultural thing, a collective consciousness thing, anybody right now that's telling you that their way is the only way, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. You understand what I'm saying? There's not one path. Find your path. I find my first name, Zaza, is, excuse me, Hebrew, meaning belonging to all. My last name is Ali, the exalted of God. So I have a Hebrew first name, a Muslim last name, which is directly connected to my ties and my my alignment with the teachings of Master Farad Muhammad specifically. Let me make this point that I want to make with this particular passage. I wanted to, I mean, at this point, I kind of feel like I'm wasting my breath talking to white people. Not that, because it's like this conversation about racism and white supremacy, while it is important, it's not really that important in the bigger scheme of things right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole nother ball game going right now. I support y'all that are marching and protesting in the streets behind these police killings and all of that, but there is a much, 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 much bigger game at play right now. And if you marching with somebody, you better make sure that they're energetically aligned. You better make sure that you're not surrounding yourself with energy that could potentially weaken your signal, which is what's going to be most important in the days to come. Your signal, which is going to determine whether they see you at all or see you or not. Whether they see you at all or don't see you at all. Whether they see you or whether they don't see you at all. This is in the causation section of the Kabbalion. It says, there is nothing in the universe for a something outside of and independent of law. And I said this before, I can't remember which book it is. It was in one of the, I think it was one of the books where the guy was saying how if one atom, I think this is in the Deepak Chopra book about the universe, atoms in the universe. If one atom gets out of place, is like where it's not, so is destroyed, it'll have a ripple effect and set all of this. And remember, my body is what, 7 septillion atoms, 7 followed by 21 zeros. If one atom in this whole mainframe of what we think of as a universe and physical reality is not where it's supposed to be or operating how it's supposed to operate, or is destroyed, it will have a ripple effect that will have cataclysmic ramifications throughout galaxies, let alone just little me. So when we say one, when we talk about the all in all, like, yeah, that's when I say we need to get beyond race, we need to understand we're all in this box right now, and there's only so much space. So my goal is to attract frequency like minds, right? I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, it's a different ball game now. There is no room, and I'm saying all of that not to say that I'm not pro-Black. Like, don't play with me. My reputation is you know what I'm saying? I've been speaking for and teaching my people my whole entire life. So don't, miss me with that. Oh, she playing for everybody now. She ain't just playing for, no, I'm playing for God. This is a different phase of consciousness and awareness where I'm at right now. Um, there's no room in the universe for a something outside of and independent of law. The existence of such a something would render all natural laws ineffective and would plunge the universe into chaotic disorder and lawlessness. A man may be both free and yet bound by necessity, depending upon the meaning of the terms and the height of truth from which the matter is examined. The ancient writers express the matter thus: the further the creation is from the center, the more it is bound. The nearer the center it reaches, the nearer free it is. The majority of people are more or less the slaves of heredity, environment, etc., and manifest very little freedom. They are swayed by the opinions, customs, and thoughts of the outside world, and also by their emotions, feelings, moods, etc. They manifest no mastery worthy of the name. The further the creation is from the center, the more it is bound. How did we get to a point where we had people telling us that we had to stay in our homes and weren't able to leave? How did we get to a point where we're facing the potential of not being able to get on a flight and go anywhere we want to go in the world because we are so far from the center? So what is the mainstream media, the United States governments and world governments? What are they promoting right now? Who are they promoting right now? I mean, Cardi B sat down and had a whole conversation with Joe Biden. We have strippers now that are having conversations with heads of state in front of the world, not like, John F. Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe, where everybody kind of thought but didn't really know. No, it's the writings on the wall now. Lil Nas X, your favorite gay superhero, satanic savage. And this is being promoted. Laws being passed now about the LGBTQ community. And listen, I don't do politically correct, so none of that, you know what I mean? Like I speak for God. So, and I'm also not anti anything. I'm pro love and I'm pro God. Right? So, I've had clients, I have people that I deal with and talk to consistently, right? That are of the LGBTQ community. I don't project. I don't tell people how to live their life, what to do with their bodies, none of that. You're a soul here having a physical experience. Whatever it is that you're going through, whatever your decisions, whatever the way that you express and live your life is in alignment. Remember, none of us are exempt from the law. So whatever you are experiencing while you're in this physical realm is a part of your soul's trajectory. Have at it. I don't do that. I don't tell people how to live. Free will is upon all of us. That's why we're in the situation we're in right now. God said, go ahead. Do what thou wilt. And now we're dealing with the ramifications of that. There are rules and regulations, or I shouldn't say rules. My brother said he doesn't like the concept of rules. So guidelines, laws, universal laws. Not like you can't drink water in a water fountain, but like, if you don't mate with a woman, if you as a man mate with another man, you can't have a child. That's the science. Don't get mad at me, get mad at the creator. So you can still live, you can still love, you can still thrive, you can still experience, the grandeur that this life has to offer, or the suffering that this life has to offer, regardless of your sexual orientation. But how do we know there's guidelines and there's only the universe is only going to allow us to go so far? You can't reproduce yourself. A woman and a woman coming together can experience love, can climax, can experience the depth of what those two women as individuals can come together and collectively share. But in order to master one of the higher levels of initiation, right, as human beings, one of the highest levels of initiation is to procreate and have a child. One of the highest levels of initiation is for a woman, feminine, yin, right, to come and seal herself, match herself, connect herself, vibe with, create with, build with her opposite, which is the masculine yang male energy. That's a level of initiation. And then you can break that down, right? Because a man and woman can hook up and be on this level of consciousness, right? So they're on this level, so they create children that are on this level. Or a man and woman can come together and create on this level of consciousness, and then they mate and they have children on this level. Or a man and woman can come together and can procreate on this level and give birth to not only children and seeds, but everything that they touch from that state of consciousness and awareness. Masculine, feminine, yin yang, right? So what is the American government and this culture and the society promoting right now? You can't deny it. Why are they promoting it? What's the connection in the bigger scheme of things? And again, don't use my comment section to spear off your vitriol. I want love around me. I don't want none of that low vibrational energy and you got issues with homosexual people, so now you want to sound off. We don't do all of that. This is not kindergarten. This is college. This is, you know what I'm saying? So let's not, a lot of y'all are operating from the bird brain where you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, you take your emotions out of it. This is not about your feelings. This is about the physical reality that we're living in and what we're up against now. So when they say, the further the creation is from the center, the more it is bound. And we're looking at a situation right now where all of us are facing some sort of prison, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever your, you know what I'm saying? Whatever works for you. This is the reality that we're collectively, as a consciousness, that we're all facing right now. We can't deny it. You know what I'm saying? If you're paying attention. So now we got men bumping and grinding on Satan and doing twerk dance routines in the shower, in prison. Who is that in alignment with? Are we closer to the center? Or further from the center? The nearer to the center it reaches, the freer it is. Where's freedom right now? There's no land mass that you can go to right now where there is pure, unadulterated freedom. Nowhere. And even the places that are safe, they're pushing buttons and sending earthquakes and fires and storms, and you know what I'm saying? So the only way out of this is within. What do you mean the only way out is within? The further the creation is from the center, the more it is bound. We are so far away from what we were originally created to do and to be. And getting away from the sexual, right? Because it's not just that. It's everything that's being promoted right now. Everything that's happening in the news, everything that's happening in the public, a sphere of opinion, so to speak. CNN, MSNBC, all of the talking heads in the Black community. The ones who like to go and pretend like none of this is happening, like there's not a big ass elephant in the room right now. You want to get online and talk about Joe Biden versus Trump, like these dudes are real. Either none of them is running this country right now. Like there's no, whoever's running America is running Europe and South America and Australia. You know what I'm saying? Like our concept of government. So for me to be sitting around talking about Joe Biden and Donald Trump and like Democrat versus Republican, like, don't, please. That is a complete 100% waste of time. The nearer to the center it reaches, the nearer free it is. So when I say the only way out is within, that's what I'm talking about. Being internally focused. This is my super beings. I have another book, don't worry. My brother bought me a brand new book because he was embarrassed for me because I showed this this book online, but yeah, don't play with me. My books get miles. On page 58, your spiritual nature, the super consciousness within you, is the door to all the good that the universe has for you. When you realize your true identity, the door swings open and the fullness of power comes forth. It goes before you to straighten out every crooked place. It perfects everything that concerns you. and you begin to live the kind of life you were created for. So when I'm talking about being internally focused, this means set the pathway so that when the oh, this is my business card. Make sure my phone number ain't on here. Being internally focused so that when it's time for fire, right? Sometimes you don't have to be the one to emit the fire. The fire comes and covers down on you before you even have to say a word. When it's time for water and rain and, you know what I'm saying, storms and hail and all of those things that that nature will use, even though they're using nature against itself. These people are not smarter than God, not greater than God. You know what I'm saying? Like, but when it comes time to use the water elements of yourself that you have already internally built an infrastructure for the life that you are aspiring to. Your super consciousness. This is when, you know, when the Kabbalion talks about the center, the super beings talks about the super consciousness, right? But it's that internal force, that internal awareness, that consciousness that has been pecking at you for the last year and a half. Something about this is not right. And for those of us that are a little bit more have been in tune and aware, it didn't take this situation a year and a half ago to figure out that something was wrong. I was born knowing something was wrong with this world. That's why the conditions of my life have been and were the way that they were, to prepare me for this moment. But imagine how many people have been living like this is totally beyond anything that they can comprehend. Non-playable characters. Getting up, going to work every day, vacationing twice a year. You know what I'm saying? Walk out the house with a mask on because, you know, they said to do so. Doesn't make sense, but I just want to be compliant. I don't want any trouble. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? And let me say this while I'm thinking about it. A lot of people are reaching out to me about their jobs, right? What can I do? They're trying to force me to do this. I don't want to do that, but I've been here this long, and da 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 da. And of course, there's resources, right? There's this woman who has her staff has written out this form where you can give it to your boss and tell your, you know, have them fill it out when it comes to the checks and balances, legalities, et cetera, et cetera. You know, there's resources out here, exemption forms, all of that type of stuff, right? And when you guys share people's stuff, please give them credit. It just drives me crazy when I see people share other people's work and make it seem like it's theirs. That's corny to me. But anyway, do you really want to be working in an environment where everybody's energetically turned up against you because you chose your righteous path over the path of, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's something you really, really, really need to ask yourself. Keeping the job is one thing. Thriving in that type of environment, it's going to be a different ball game. And can you do it? Of course you can. You can do whatever you put your mind to. You know, if you had the spiritual dispensation and the proper internal focus and awareness, you could keep the job without even having to get the shot. Most people don't never reach that level of consciousness and living. And then the flip side of that is when you get to that state of awareness, you're rarely working for somebody else. Not that you have to be entrepreneurial minded, right? You don't have to be spiritual and then be entrepreneur minded, but the spiritual work is going to protect you from being in environments, any environments that are not going to be conducive to your highest and best good. So if you really are spiritually focused and aware, and you have been, you know, laying the path, so to speak, for the last 5 years, 10 years, or whatever, your internal awareness would have already moved you out of environments that are not for your best, for your well-being. So if you work for a company now, whether it's in a medical industry, private company, or whatever, and these people are telling you it's this way or no way, whether you do it or not is one thing to consider. But please understand that you are in an environment that does not support your highest and best self. So if you keep the job, What are you left with? So my thing is consciously creating reality opposed to reacting to what it is that we're seeing. When we talk about the love frequency, when we talk about the quantum field, we're talking about consciously creating reality, making time, right? And I had to catch myself multiple times as of late, looking at this clock. Oh my God, I need to do this. I need to do that. I'm running out of time. No, we make time. So I'm right on time. And this message is right on time. And the fire last week was right on time. And the rain and the water and the air and all of the elements that have been incorporated in this message today are right on time. And you listening to me right is right on time. And you refusing it is right on time. And you deciding that you are going to take a chance and step out on faith and start your business or create a daycare that is specifically for people that are choosing a different path, right? There's a whole industry right now ready for the taking for people that are not with it. We need directories. My brother is a personal trainer. I know he's going to be watching this. We had this conversation. You in New York, you can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't be in a gym if you don't actually if you haven't, submitted to Satan's will, because that's what all of this is about, whether you did it knowingly or not. That's the game we're playing at this point, consent. Not just consent, I'm not taking that, but consent, I refuse to stay in a relationship that is beneath me. I refuse to continue to have friends and associates and family members that make me feel less than because I won't do things their way. And that list goes on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? When I said in the last video that most of us have never been properly loved, right? So you say, oh, okay, well, we're moving into the love frequency in the quantum realm, right? They are all love, high vibrations, right? Which, no, that's not how this works. Balance, yin and yang, fire and water. Some days it's going to be love, peace, and happiness and meditating and flowing. Some days it's going to be a sword, right? But balance. So you say, well, Zaza, you keep talking about the love frequency, but then you turned around and said that most of us have not been properly loved. How do you resolve that? That's a great question. That's actually a question I posed to myself after I said it. I didn't really realize the depths of love until I had my son. Because up until that point, I had never been anybody's priority. As an infant, as a child, as a teenager, even in relationships, I had never been properly loved up to that point. And I'm looking at this now in retrospect. I have a totally different understanding of what love is now, opposed to what I thought love was when I was pregnant with my son, right? Had my son. And even the relationship you have with your children is mostly one-sided for a long period of time until they really start to come into themselves and, and blossom, right? Our relationships with our children, for the most part, until they get to that point, are not reciprocal. Yes, they love you, they hug you, they kiss you, you know what I mean? But they also drive you crazy. They're not sacrificing anything for you. They're not, making sure bills are paid. They don't care about what your struggles and what you're going through, as long as there's food on the table and, you get them the basketball on time, right? So those relationships are not like mutually nurturing and watering and the fullness of it, right? Because there's no greater value than the nature of the relationship between parent and child. And I don't want you guys to think I'm minimizing that. But I know my son, for all the greatness and wonderfulness, and now he's 18, so he's really kind of like off in the world, you know what I mean, doing his thing and finding his own way. And I'm still here every single day, focused on him. Does he have everything he needs? Where is he at? Who's he with? Where's he going? Protect my child. You know what I mean? Like every day. It's never not a part of my consciousness. Him, hey mom, good morning. You know what I'm saying? Good night, mom. Love you. Like that's what he's got to offer me now. And you know, there's layers to this, but you guys get what I'm saying. So I say all of that to say that I recognize when I had my son as me, this vessel of love pouring in and over him and sacrificing, that I had never been properly loved. The people whose care I was in, from my family to, you know, the world around me, I'd had angels placed on my path at different stages, but I had never been properly loved. So now I can either pivot into, well, let me find a man that can properly love me, which that's a complete waste of time, because you know, when you start operating at higher states of consciousness, it's not about finding anything, it's about being and attracting. So at this stage, when people try to make me feel some type of way because I'm single, which is funny to me, because you can trip outside on the sidewalk and be in a relationship. Most of us can, any of us can, to be honest. um or emitting a frequency, opposed to emitting a frequency that vibrates so high that it's only a matter of time before he has to come into my existence, because the frequency is so high and so rare that whether he's 10,000 miles away or 10 blocks away, you know what I'm saying, those signals will find each other, right? But before we even get to that part of the story, my focus became, I want to experience real love. And I don't have no control over what the men are doing. I don't have control over if I run into some dude in a random, you know, Sprouts and we hit it off. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm so far beyond that. Not that it can't happen, not that it won't happen, but that's not my state of consciousness. I want to experience real, full, true love. And the only thing I have power over is myself. And can I give myself a level of love that will fill this void? Emphatically, yes, I can, and I have. So there is no lack for me. And I'm making this personal, but I'm gonna obviously bring this into the bigger conversation. There's no lack for me because I am enough. I am sufficient. I do love myself, like in a way that my love for myself is so solid and so strong right now that even when I want to, I can't keep people around me that might be fun, but are not good for my frequency. You know what I'm saying? I love cheese pizza. Like, you know, there's not too many delicacies on the planet that I appreciate more than a nice fresh slice of mozzarella pizza, extra cheese with the onions and the bell peppers and the mushrooms and the olives. Oh my God. Like, you know what I mean? But I also know that now when I eat dairy, my body reacts immediately. That's self-love, deciding. You know what I'm saying? Little steps and then big steps. Well, my family turned their back on me. I'm not talking about me personally. I'm just using this as an example. Family turned your back on you. They want you to get the shot or else. Well, where's the love? Is it that voice inside of you that's speaking to you and telling you that this is not the way? Is that the supreme love? Or is the supreme love your aunties and uncles and grandmothers and cousins that have already taken it, that are telling you that if you don't take it, you're going to be banished from the family? I mean, the ultimatum to me has already severed ties. You give me an ultimatum about anything, and we got a problem. So now we have to start distinguishing. I love myself. I hear my inner voice talking to me. I hear the God in me telling me this is not the way. I don't have all the answers, but I know that 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 is something that's in that direction that is not for my health and well-being. But I love my family and they all I got. You know what I'm saying? And if I don't have them, then that means that I'm gonna have to ride this out by myself. So what am I really? Judgment is upon us. I don't have One answer. There's like 10 videos that I just really, 10 things that I want to talk about, like I'm talking about today, that I am going to do, video, audio, whatever. I never feel fulfilled when I do these videos. It's always something I could have said. I could have said more. I could have, you know what I'm saying? When I write, I'm always like super critical of how I'm expressing myself to the world because, I feel the weight. You know what I'm saying? I feel the weight of the moment. I feel the energy. I feel the need for guidance. That's why I'm trying to get women to like really kind of step out of this in the shadow. We're waiting for orders on what we need to do. No, you don't need to wait for no orders. Water, fire, metal, earth, wood. You already have the orders. You have the instructions. You have the tools, the utilities already in you, in your genetic mainframe. That's why they're trying to detach, sever that tie. Brain versus mind. Just your brain, you can operate full faculties. Like I said, non-controllable players, moving around, eating, walking, spending money, living, and ain't even on a board. So what do we do? It's no one answer. It's a lot of layers. It's a lot of levels. I don't have all the answers. But I know love. And I know that love is the frequency of the creator. And when I say the frequency of the creator, all of, and this is another thing about social media, right? Because everybody is a scholar. Well, how can you separate the good from the bad? Because if God is all, then the darkness is attributed to God and all this savagery is attributed to God. And yeah, but there's a fail safe, like I said before. We all have free will. We can do whatever we want to do, but you're only going to be allowed to go so far. They say they shooting rockets up into space. They say they've been on the moon. They say they put a rover on Mars. That's what they say. Can't get in a plane and take a flight to Saturn right now. There's limitations. We're only going to be allowed to go so far if we are not in the God frequency. So the love frequency. Well, I've never had anybody love me before, you say. Then love yourself. I don't want to be alone right now. It's a pandemic and I just need a man next to me and da 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 da. No, stop, pause, love yourself. My family turned it back on me. My mother's not talking to me. My job is getting ready to fire me. Da 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 da. Then love yourself. Loving yourself means stepping away from any and everything that is contrary to what you know to be true. Truth. And I know truth, we think truth is subjective now because everybody's got a platform and everybody's got an opinion and everybody can, you know what I'm saying, speak their truth. So you have a truth and I have a truth. Yes, those things are up for, negotiation. And you know what I'm saying? We can comb through how I see things and we can comb through how you see things and then maybe come together and have a collective agreement about whether A is B or B is C. And all of that, that's not what I'm talking about. There is a foundational elemental truth that should be burning at the core of all human beings that are still attached to the greater mind, the greater consciousness, not operating in brain capacity, but operating in mind capacity, meaning you are still connected to, you are still being guided by, you are still being nurtured by, you are still being protected by a frequency of truth. So when you live in truth, you have a different level of protection. And when you're not living in truth, you have a different level of protection. So that's why when, the conversation about submission, right? Women need to submit to men. No, we all need to submit to truth. And when we all submit to truth, there's no lines to be blurred. And I don't have a problem with you, putting air in my tires and you know what I'm saying, fortifying the house to make sure that it is, a deer won't, run up in my backyard or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about the physical aspects of this reality. Yeah, I want you to fix my tire. I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I live on the third floor. I need help carrying heavy things up the stairs because that's just not something I aspire. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about living in truth. You got a wife that's telling you that this shit is dangerous. And because you got a job that makes $500,000 a year, you're the man, that you're the one who's going to make the ultimate decision. That's not living in truth. And in the Kabbalion, it talks about mental gender and breaking down the polarities of the masculine and feminine. So people who are still arguing based on a gender perspective are way behind times. And it might sound like that's what I'm doing because I'm trying to lift women up so that we can all be here instead of being here. So you might think I'm playing that card, but no, I'm actually coming back to the center, trying to get us closer to this original concept of what being free is. We got to be more human. Technology is the way. No, it's not. It's a tool. It's a resource for our good. I run my whole business through my website. So obviously I'm not sitting here knocking technology, but I am also more focused on meeting clients that I can sit down and build with face to face, and you know what I'm saying, break bread and actually have an exchange of energy opposed to just sitting and talking to each other by video. And you know, that works. It's very beneficial, but there's another level and another layer to it. Be more human. Get off social media. Do things without the phone attached to your hip. Remember that your brain and this whole mainframe, meaning the physical body, is what all of this technology is mirrored off of anyway. You know, there is a concept of the web, this energy, this matrix of energy that is connecting all things, right? So when we talk about the quantum reality, we're talking about these energy, not energy, thoughts, right? And the energy that come behind the thoughts. The thought is one thing. The energy that is attached to the thought is what actually empowers it. So if you say, I want to make $1 million, right? That's your thought process. But the energy is connected to some envy or jealousy that you have of a friend or somebody you know online that's already done what you want to do, right? So you're saying you want to do it, but the energy behind it is a low base frequency. The universe is interpreting both of those things and will send you more experiences that are in alignment with the frequency you emit opposed to the language you use. It depends on the energy that's attached to the thought. So that's one example. If you say, I want to meet and marry a righteous woman that is in alignment with my train of thought and way of living, but then you spend all your time online on Blacktail, right? Worshiping the divine goddess energy, right? That I don't want to curse. So let me just, I can't tell you how many men that I've met that have this false sense of connecting to the divine feminine energy purely through sex. Yes, sex is a way to get there, but there has to be love in order for you to tap into those higher states of consciousness. That's a prerequisite. Otherwise, it's just an orgasm. So you say, I want to meet and connect with a certain type of woman, but the women that you focus on are way beneath the frequency. So then you keep meeting women that match that frequency, and your desired mate or wife is moving further and further away from you because you don't know how to be alone, so that you can mentally and spiritually and energetically conceive the woman that you aspire to and aspire to be with you, so that you two can come together and build a world or whatever you want to do. So how you're thinking and how you're feeling matters always, and even more so now. So this matrix, this web of energy, the unseen, if 2% of our reality is the physical world, right? And 98% of our reality is the unseen. The unseen is where the power is. So when I tell people now is the time to go within to get out of this and to get through this, and people think that that sounds foolish, that's because you don't understand the 98% that this reality is that's actually making this reality operate. The unseen. In the Matrix, the scene that I think escaped a lot of us, and maybe we didn't meditate enough on it, because, you know, when we talk about the movie, we talk about a lot of different aspects of the movie, right? But when Keanu Reeves was unplugged, right? Once he said, you know, okay, I want to take the red pill. I want to know, you know, I don't want to live in the Matrix. I want to be aware and conscious of what's really happening. And they unplugged him. Remember that scene? And when they unplugged him, he went through the, you know, slid through the fake. They had a whole fake womb, a uterus. You know, babies are formulated in a womb, and the temperature has to be perfect. The amount of fluid in the womb, in the uterus, has to be perfect in the sac, right? All of those varying things that we take for granted when we have children, and you know what I'm saying, we don't respect that whole process that nature is taking place when we give life, right? Again, going back to the limitations, right? Giving life is a gift. The connection between man and woman, and that experience that happens, is a physical representation of divine consciousness coming into existence and becoming aware of itself, and starting the whole chain of events, triple darkness, if you will, that led us to where we are today, right? This physical reality. So Keanu Reeves is disconnected from the womb, the fake womb, and he's sent through this, you know, this winding tube, and he ends up, you know, getting spit out, so to speak, and they picked him up, and he eventually made his way to the ship in the new reality, right? Here's the thing. The whole world that was built, remember they had the scene where it looked like, you know, like the apocalypse, right? All the buildings were hella black, and the sky was darkened, and there was thunder, and you know, it was robots everywhere, no humans, no, you know, our concept of reality was completely gone. It was just this whole world of darkness and gloom, right? And then within that world, a mainframe, if you will, and a computerized infrastructure that created another world that was real and tangible and physical, right? Remember the guy said he just wanted a piece of steak, right? The lady in the red dress, right? Real as anything you can imagine, right? You can experience, you can touch it, you can taste it, all the five senses at play. But it's all being harnessed and run and empowered by human beings. Imagine that. That's one of the reasons why these people can't just, you know, they have the technology to, like, let's be clear. It's not hard for them to kill a lot of people. It's not. They have the technology, but they have to go about it a certain way, because if they don't respect those laws, if they don't respect the spiritual governance and the spiritual laws, then there's an intervention. And there is an intervention coming, trust me. But we have to get in alignment with the frequency in order to be a part of that intervention. So when I say this is spiritual warfare, this is not just about keeping somebody from knocking on your door and asking you for your medical history. This is about your frequency being so clear and so concise and so focused and so in alignment with what it is that you desire, that the world that you are manifest or formulating and conceiving and contriving in your mind and in your energy and in your thoughts is already in that web, that vast, expansive space of energy where all consciousness is collected, that actually creates the physical world. This is why we have to go quantum. But you can't go quantum if you don't vibrate on the love frequency. You can't. You can hate white people, you can hate black people, you can hate gay people, you can hate whatever you want to hate. But if you're on the hate frequency, you're not on the love frequency. And if you're not on the love frequency, you can't go quantum. So if there's nobody to love you, then what's the primary focus? To love yourself. And that love will sustain you and will bring you into alignment with your tribe that will make up for whatever you lack in family or friends or resources or contacts, or you know what I mean? When I leave LA, and I've given myself 2 years here. I didn't know how long I was going to be here before here. I've been here for 6 months now. So I have a 2 year time frame for being here, right? I told y'all I'm Laura Croft, Tomb Raider in this BI. Um, I'll probably leave here and go to the mountains. You know what I'm saying? I don't know exactly where yet. I have a few places in mind, right? Um, but I'm already projecting. And in the quantum realm, this is now. So I have a visualization and a process that I go through that is already solidifying that reality for me in the future, but also right now, because we make time. We make time. The way that you think, if you're stressed about deadlines, and this is why I can't operate in that capacity anymore, because deadlines throw me off of my divine timing. You know what I'm saying? So then I have to be careful about how I move and things that I promise. And you know what I mean? Because it throws me out of alignment with the quantum reality. Because all there is really right now. And what you're thinking and feeling right now is what's going to build your tomorrow. The elements of technology, the metal piece, right? Even the wood and the fire. This is the technology that they use to create the stuff that's coming from the sky, the stuff that's, you know what I mean? Like all of it, the aluminum, the barium, the polymer fibers. They didn't create any of this stuff. They're using the natural resources of the planet to wage war on humanity and the planet. So what are we doing with the natural resources that we have access to? I'm not just talking about building how I'm talking about spiritual kung fu, spiritual alchemy. You can watch 1,000 do-it-yourself videos online to show you how to build a house, to show you how to build a desk. You know what I mean? Disaster preparedness, all that stuff. Like, yeah, there's plenty of resources out there. I'm talking about spiritual kung fu. Which of the elements are you using right now internally to build yourself and solidify yourself to create a armor of God to protect you through this storm that we're about to go through? Be more human. I'm not impressed. I think it's great that we can, actually, I am impressed with technology, with social media. Let me, you know what I mean? Like, I do great. It makes my life 1000% easier, trust me, to have access to these tools. But I also know that without these tools, my greatness does not decline. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's a day coming, and there is, where I won't be able to log on to Instagram, or you won't be able to see me on YouTube, will I still be able to be solidified within myself, standing on my square and expressing and experiencing God as the highest levels? Absolutely. Be more human. Spend more time in nature. Whatever things that you have in your life that you love, practice them and experience them more. You know what I mean? And obviously the meditation, the prayer, you know, spending time alone, getting used to being with yourself so you can, you know, get the download of the ancestors, the universe, whatever you want to call it. All of those things go without saying. But everything that you need to get through this is already in you. And that means that if you need things that you don't have, the building blocks in order to manifest those things are already within. If you're worried about getting a job and you think that, you know, well, all the jobs are going to need it in a minute, I'm not going to have any other options. No, stop it. Everything that you need in order to attract the type of business, the type of job that you aspire to is already ready within you. You just have to claim it. We're not claiming what we want. Like, I think we have this idea that God is this like soft, pillowy, you know what I'm saying, cushiony, lovable teddy bear, and God is in whatever way you can conceive it. But you know, once you see a lion snatch the head of a gazelle off its body, you realize that there's levels to this. You know what I'm saying? So that fire energy, that water energy, that air energy, that wood energy, those different aspects of the power that we have access to, this is where we're going in the quantum realm. Those of us that make it. They say our planet is resonating at a 7.83 hertz. The love frequency is supposed to be 528 hertz. And of course, there's frequencies in the middle, on top, and beneath all of those, you know, but your frequency, stepping away from that, is based on how you think, how you feel, how you breathe, how you eat, and how you live. How you think, how you feel, how you breathe, how you eat, and how you live. And your frequency is what's going to determine the level of persecution, the level of suffering, the level of struggling, the weather of the level of abundance that you're going to experience. You know what I'm saying? So there's a collective consciousness that's involved in all of this, and then there's an individual consciousness that's involved in all of this. As a collective, are we further from the center or closer to the center? I think that question goes without, you know what I mean? Like, that's an easy answer, right? Are we closer to the center or further from the center as a collective? And we can say all people, then we can say Black people, then we can say, you know, we can split it up. But at this point, the collective consciousness is really kind of the most important thing collectively, as Black people, as women, you know what I'm saying, as scientists, as scholars, as intellectuals, as builders. You know what I mean? Like, we got to think outside the box of this world so that we can start creating a new world. People that specialize in economics and specialize in finances, the economic infrastructure of this world is collapsing. It's really already collapsed, but they're holding it up. You know, piece of woods, you know, kind of standing it up straight, if you will, right? So the people who are in economics and who deal in finances need to start creating monetary mechanisms, if you will, that go beyond the scope of this land. What is of this reality? What do you bring to the table? You personally. Take all of this away and ask yourself, what skills, what assets, what things, tangible and intangible, do you bring to the table of a collective tribe? Because unifying is a concept that has to be explored. I cannot unify with people that are not in alignment with where I am. So unity, yes, but unity has qualifications. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you too far from the center, you cannot be in my cipher. If you're, you know what I mean? If you are conducting yourself in a way that's going to lead you to bondage internally or externally, you cannot be a part of my cipher. So there are prerequisites for unifying with me. Are you closer to the center, or meaning you are free? It's not hard to determine. Internally free, mentally free, spiritually free, emotionally free, physically free. And you can be free mentally and be in bondage physically. You can be free spiritually and be in bondage emotionally. We spend a lot of time on how we look. Like, you know what I'm saying? But especially women. Looking good on the outside and a hot ass mess on the inside, right? So the litmus test is, am I free? Spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, etc. To experience love is to experience God. So it can be love in a relationship, it can be love in your work, it can be love in nature. Whenever you are experiencing love, you are experiencing God. The weighing of the heart, which is another, I kind of deal with that in the Keys to Womanhood book as well. This concept of ma'at, right? Justice, equality, balance, right? Equilibrium. We need to start weighing our hearts. You know what I'm saying? When I think about my son, or when I think about, all the stuff that I need to do, to prepare for what's coming, you know what I mean? It kind of takes me off of my square energetically. So then I have to push back from it and come back to it when the perspective is clear. I don't touch anything. I don't make any decisions. I don't take calls. I don't do consultations. I don't talk to clients if my energy is not in alignment with who and what I'm aspiring to be. So the gradation, or the, litmus test, or the appraisal for where you are right now and how prepared you are for what's about to go down. Yeah, you can look at your, obviously the physical things, those things go without saying. We shouldn't have to say any of that at this point. Everybody should be on the same page, right? Rolling blackouts coming, electrical energy systems going down. Internet will be cut off at some point in time. Gas will be cut off at some point in time. Food shortages, water shortages, gas shortages, all of that. Yeah, be mindful of it, but then also know and understand that, you know what I mean? In my Father's house, there are many mansions. I will not miss a meal. My son will not miss a meal. You understand what I'm saying? So that is the building blocks of the world that I am creating for myself, that I aspire to be in alignment with in the quantum realm right now, so that tomorrow everything that I need to take place in order for that to happen actually happens. There's a lot of other things that I want to talk about, but I think I've said enough. And I'm going to do some more videos and content that will kind of fill in the gaps. You sit down and you have a conversation, and you try to reach people, and then people settle on one thing you said. You know what I'm saying? Like, I sit down and talk to you for an hour and a half, and then you want to come in my comments and focus only on the thing that I said about the LGBTQ community, or whatever that, or specifically about men. Like, listen, balance. We need to be disciplined and shrewd, and we also need to be loving and welcoming, right? So I can talk to the LGBT community and be loving and welcoming, and then also be disciplined and shrewd in what I know to be true about how science and technology works. Can't argue with the facts. Doesn't mean that I am espousing hatred, you know what I'm saying, or trying to make anybody feel less than. No, live your life to the fullest. The love frequency is the ultimate goal. So if you're experiencing the love frequency in a real, authentic, righteous way, who am I to judge? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't do that. I don't, and I've been strung up on a cross before, multiple times. An energetic cross, of course. I know what that feels like. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't do it to people. That's why I'm careful and cautious about how I talk about these things, because most people are fragile and don't really have the bandwidth to step outside of their personal life and to see how these things kind of come into play when it comes to the whole. Most of us are operating from our individual perspective, how we want to live our lives, what makes us feel good and comfortable. And that's all good, because we are supposed to be doing that. But again, going back to good man versus king versus God, good woman versus queen versus goddess. We got a lot of good women out here. We have a lot of women that have been the glue in our community, that have held us together, that get meals prepared, and that, you know what I'm saying, parent teachers associations, and are doing the things that need to be done to keep their world functioning, operating, right? That's a good woman. That does not equate to being a queen. And we throw that word queen around, which is, we have no understanding of what that actually means, of being responsible for other minds, not your nucleus family, being responsible for other minds, being responsible for how other women operate, being responsible for decisions that are being made that affect the whole, being responsible for how we display ourselves or how we carry ourselves, and understanding that it affects people beyond just us, right? That's a queen. And then a goddess is self-ruled. I am that I am. You understand what I'm saying? That does not only apply to men. I'm sorry, the cat's out the bag. I don't know where, I know where we went off track, but and it didn't just start with Europeans, so we need to stop telling that lie. It was problems in Africa before they ever came along, which is why they were welcomed in the first place. But this is not, when we talk about self-mastery, self-rulership, you know, when I say the 24 wise scientists, the Elohim, right? This council of gods, this council of supreme beings that are sitting around and making decisions, or that are, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know we naturally have this inclination to see that as men, but we are moving into a new time dispensation. And I, as a woman, am here to tell you, on behalf of all of the women that have come before me and all of the women that are coming after me, that those days are over, and that all men need to be actively in their families, in their communities. Not need to be. I'm not giving orders. Let me backtrack and correct myself. I don't give orders. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in a position to call shots on nobody else's life. Do what thou wilt, again. But as a queen, it's just a few things that need to be said. The least that our brothers and our men, good men, kings, gods, whatever, can do is start to fortify, you know what I'm saying, this movement forward. I don't need you to give me to quote the Quran verses. I don't need you to give me the Bible verses. I don't need you to come trying to tell me about, you know, the ultramagnetic infrastructure of the pyramid from 50,000 years ago that is beaming frequencies and energies to the Sirius star A and the Sirius B, and the Dogon are channeling and accessing. We don't need to do all of that. And in the same way that I have challenged men because of the hour that we're living in, I'm challenging women, and the only way I can challenge women is by challenging myself. So I don't put anything on the airwaves or anything that I, you know what I'm saying, think might be good or right. You know what I mean? Like I'm very self-critical, very, very, very self-critical, very hard on myself. I've written 7 books and have not even scratched the surface of the energy and the intellectual prowess that I have and can share with the world when I get out of my own way. You know what I'm saying? I think I said everything I wanted to say. We have to get on a love frequency, but a lot of us have to first learn how to love ourselves before we can carry and emit that frequency in a way that is effective, intangible, and good. Right? This is not I'm not going to heal the world or solve all the problems with one video. I don't expect to. You know what I'm saying? But what I can do is sit down and share some of these great minds that I study, and translate and transmute the messages that I get from higher power. And then you can take it and you can do whatever you want to do with it. But free will is the order of the day. Consent is the order of the day. So you can consent to love and positive energy and gratitude and abundance, and you know what I mean, friendships in all walks of life, and money, and you know, whatever your concept of love, how it expresses itself. Or you can consent to fear and everything that comes with that. ZaZaAli.com is my website. I will probably put up a video on Saturday and Sunday, just a couple of other things that I kind of left out. And, just periodic videos. I'm going to be online for probably a couple of months, really kind of utilizing this tool for what it's worth. And then I'm going to have to fade to black again because that's what's necessary. So hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys again soon. Peace and love.